obstacles are many, but if you give up on the first, then you will not move to the second. So you have to have that ruthless and relentless focus and laser focus. Where are we going? And we must get to where we are going. So I think you are very, very fortunate as young people of this country and of Africa to have had the very, very wise words that have been spoken to you, and you should take them extremely seriously. So I'm honored to address this very, very esteemed audience, and as we deliberate on intergenerational equity and inclusive strategies to accelerate climate adaptation. This conversation could not be timelier as our country and county confronts the intertwined challenges of climate change and youth unemployment. Homa Bay is recognized as the Lake County, and we host 80% of Kenya's Lake Victoria. Kenya has 6% of Lake Victoria, and 80% of that is in Homa Bay. Homa Bay has been adversely impacted by the catastrophic consequences of climate change. The rise of the lake water levels has resulted in loss of human life and destruction of property and infrastructure, as evidenced by the recent events in a place called Sindo, where we lost 4 lives and over 1,000 homes and a lot of property. Climate change adaptation for Homa Bay is an urgent life and survival matter. We remain steadfast in our aspiration to see Homa Bay evolve into a vibrant, sustainable city within the next decade, with climate-smart infrastructure as the underpinning principle. It is an ambitious, yet fully attainable vision for a county rich in resilience and potential. Indeed, our name is the County of Endless Potential. To realize this vision, we must engage in deliberate climate-smart development planning that addresses today's climate risks while safeguarding the lives and livelihoods of generations to come. It is with this conviction that over a year ago, and with the invaluable support of the Global Center on Adaptation and Akiba Mashinani, which has worked with GCA here in Mukuru, together with Tom Mboya University and under a partnership with the United Cities and Local Governments of Africa, we launched what we believe is Kenya's first climate resilience, locally led municipal, local, physical, and land use development plan, known as the Locally Led People's Adaptation Plan. What makes this process truly groundbreaking is that it put the poorest and most vulnerable communities, including the youth and women, at the center, beginning with informal settlements of Makongeni, Shauri Yako, and Sofia. We did not speak for the people. We worked with them to define their vision of a climate-resilient future. In Sofia, Makongeni, and Shauri Yako informal settlements in Homa Bay, the residents have mapped their risks and charted their own adaptation path. The county government supported, enabled, and elevated this bottom-up planning process. Upon assumption of office as governor of Homa Bay, guided by the principle of a people-centered government, I put in place robust mechanisms for people's participation through the village cluster model of public participation. The locally led People's Adaptation Plan that we have worked on together with GCA aligns with our public participation model. Our motivation was clear: to build Homa Bay as a sustainable urban center, firmly rooted in local realities, shaped by local voices. Located on the shores, as I have said, we are on the shores of Lake Victoria, and we are rapidly urbanizing. We have come to the recognition that we must deal with this rapid urbanization, just like many cities across Kenya. But unlike many, we have chosen to confront the risks of urban poverty, exclusion, and environmental vulnerability head-on through a plan created by the people, for the people. This urban transition presents us with a rare opportunity to steer growth in a way that is just, inclusive, and resilient. Through the People's Adaptation Planning process, we conducted deep consultations, trained local NGOs in data collection, executed household enumerations, and mapped communities. Each informal settlement now has a detailed situational analysis. A rapid climate risk assessment for Homa Bay Municipality was completed to guide the adaptation priorities. Notably, youth from the community and students from Tom Mboya University played a pivotal role, ensuring robust data and building skills that will sustain this process for years to come. We need to extend this planning to other municipalities of Kendube, Oyugis, Mbita, and Diwa. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, during the planning process, numerous validation forums were held at the settlement level and at the county level so that the voices of Homa Bay residents could shape the future of their municipality. We are now in the final stages of this landmark plan and will soon present it to the County Assembly of Homa Bay for approval. Its implementation is already aligned with ongoing programs such as the African Development Bank, Kenya National Urban Water and Sanitation Program. Our main request as we engage in today's forum is to continue to get both technical and financial support for implementation of this plan that we will be able to develop. In addition to the ongoing Homa Bay Municipality People's Adaptation Plan, we request GCA for further collaboration on a 5-year program to prepare people's adaptation plans for all the municipalities and communities along the lakefront, including the islands that are adversely affected by climate change. In conclusion, we look forward to great conversations and partnerships and welcome you all to visit Homa Bay, and we're happy that Patrick will be with us next week in Homa Bay, next Monday. And we welcome you all to get an opportunity to visit the County of Endless Potential in Homa Bay. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
A big applause. Please join me with a big applause for the Governor of Homa Bay, for her leadership, and for promoting locally led adaptation solutions. Now we move forward. You know, this room is full of energy, is full of people that are passionate, are driving adaptation solutions. Now we have a new champion. I am honored to welcome His Excellency Mohammed Ali. You know, the first time ever that an African country hosted an African summit was here in Kenya 2 years ago. And I have the honor to welcome His Excellency Ali, who was part of this amazing leadership and achievement. A big applause. Please join me with a big applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Macky Sall, Chair of Global Adaptation, Center for Adaptation, Your Excellency, former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, Your Excellency, Madam Wanga, who is the Governor of Homa Bay, my good friend Patrick, who is the CEO of GCA. It's really a great honor to share the podium with you, Your Excellency, Mr. President and Mr. Secretary General. You have a long history of working for the world and for Africa on matters of climate change, as has been said. Let me join other Kenyans and His Excellency President Ruto for honoring you for the exemplary work that you've done over the years and awarding you the greatest honor of our country yesterday, this year. Your Excellencies, I want to thank you also. I want to thank GCA for recognizing the potential of this country and bringing the dual headquarters of this global entity, Global Center for Adaptation, here in Nairobi, where His Excellency yesterday also did the groundbreaking. And I think you have made the wise decision by moving, or rather duplicating, the headquarters from Rotterdam in the global north to Nairobi in the global south, because indeed where adaptation is most needed is here in the global south, and especially so here in Africa, where the most vulnerable communities and impacts are felt on matters of climate change. We've listened to the young people, and really it's a great honor also to see a number of old friends. I recognize the Vice Chancellor of Nairobi University, Her Excellency, thank you very much for coming. It's a great. I also recognize my former minister here, and many other friends and colleagues who we have worked together, and many young faces and many young people. it just shows the enthusiasm and the commitment of the young people of Kenya and the people of Africa when it comes to addressing matters of climate change. A while ago, His Excellency, the former Vice President of USA, Al Gore, was here. And he hosted a similar but slightly bigger forum for his climate reality thing. More than 1,000 young people came. Whenever issues of climate change are discussed in Kenya and in Africa, the people who come and who are making a difference are young people of Africa. And this is really a great commitment and a great thing to celebrate as young people. And climate change is a reality. We all have seen. I'm just coming back from a place called Sevilla in Spain, where His Excellency and many other leaders congregated to discuss issues on financing for development. The temperatures there were abnormal. We have never seen that kind of temperature here in our country. It was 46.5 where we were. 46.5, I don't think there is any part. I come from Garissa, which is among the hottest parts of Kenya. But we don't have that kind of temperatures. So it's a reality. Every single week of last month and this month, temperatures are being broken. And, you know, in Japan, I saw 1,000 temperatures have been broken over the last 2 weeks only. And so this is the reality. Over the last 10 years, every year was hotter than the previous year. 2024 was the hottest ever year. We don't know what's going to be like this year. May was the hottest May ever. And I think June this year was slightly cooler than the June of last year. But we don't know what World Meteorological Organization is going to tell us when we reach 31st of December. So that is the reality. Yet, we in Africa are contributing the least, as you all said. So adaptation is the only option that we do have as Africa, because really the people who have the responsibility to address this problem of climate change are the people who are polluting the world. Yet they are reneging on their promises and their commitments. Those are the people that we must call on. And I thank you, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. I thank you, President Macky Sall. Yesterday, you did call on some of these people who are backtracking on their commitments. And so we as Africa, I had the privilege last year of leading the African group negotiations in climate change. And we keep on pushing for the Africa's agenda. Adaptation is important, but can we adapt to a temperature of 50 degrees? There are already 50 degrees in Iran last week, 51 point something. And many other parts of the world, they've already exceeded 50. Can we adapt to a temperature of, say, 60 degrees? It is impossible. So adaptation is important. But beyond adaptation, it is important that we call for emission reductions by the people who continue to spew the world and the atmosphere with more and more greenhouse gases. You know, the assessment done by the assessments being done by one of the scientific institutions based in the US continues to monitor the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It is now at 429 point something, 429.5. I mean, it was just a few years back, it was 380. So it continues to increase. So as Africa, we will do our bit. And young people of Africa, we congratulate you for your commitment and your innovations. I have been to a number of events where young Africans are innovating, you know, to survive, to cope up with the situation. But that is not enough. Financing, support for our adaptation actions is dwindling. You all know that the commitments on adaptation funding is a fraction of funding going to mitigation. And so one of the things that we continue to push in the international forums, which we'll do again in every other meeting that we go to, is to make sure that financing as agreed in the Paris Agreement, parity between mitigation financing and adaptation financing, which means they need to be equal, And that has not been achieved 10 years. This year we're celebrating the 10th year of Paris Agreement. Yet we have not achieved that. So we'll continue to push that at international levels. But the young people of Africa, the young people of Kenya, we thank you for all the good work you are doing. It's really heartening to see the innovations that you continue to do. A few weeks ago, I invited 2 young Kenyans to my office, Charlie and Mercy Chalo, who has innovated and patented a new equipment for steam cooking. And she's already commercialized. What is the other lady called? Nora Magero. Also, she's patented and commercialized beyond Nairobi, beyond Kenya and into Africa and some other parts of the world have Vaxibox. I think you know. Many other Kenyans are patenting and innovating, adaptation equipment and tools that is helping them. So I encourage you to continue, innovating. We will support you, His Excellency President William Ruto, as the chair of the Committee of Heads of State and Government on Matters Climate Change, will continue to champion on behalf of Kenya and on behalf of Africa. And we will support him as Kenyans and his staff to push this agenda of climate change. So once again, thank you very much, and looking forward to working with all of you. But let me again thank you, Your Excellencies, for choosing Kenya as the seat of GCA, and we look forward to making GCA work even harder. And may I thank you also for recognizing me yesterday as a champion, a distinguished champion of one of the main programs of GCA, which is the Africa Accelerated Adaptation Program. Thank you, President Salih Macky Sall, and I thank you, Mr. Patrick, for that. We will champion AAP, and we will champion adaptation and mitigation and climate action for Africa and for Kenya. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana, please join me with a big applause for His Excellency Ali Mohammed. Adaptation is about the most vulnerable people suffering the consequences. And this agenda requires a long-term vision, partnerships, intergenerational dialogue, but especially people that are ready to take the challenge and that don't give up. And many of you in your daily life knows this situation. And I want to welcome now one person that I have also the honor to work in the day-to-day life. And many people said things are impossible. And what I have learned in GCA is that nothing is impossible. Because when we are working day and night and exhausted and we think we will not make it, I have learned from His Excellency, also Professor Patrick Verkoyen, that everything can be done, and we will do it, because we can, we must, and we will be. Welcome, please, His Excellency Professor Patrick Verkoyen, the CEO and President of the Global Center on Adaptation and the Chancellor of the University of Nairobi.
Thank you, Adriana, for these very kind words. Obviously, she's paid by GCA just to say these things. But Adriana, more seriously, you're doing a fantastic job. It is you who is driving this whole momentum. Thank you for that. Mr. Secretary General, you spoke very kindly and generously about me, also yesterday. But we're entrepreneur today. And let me also say a few words about you, sir, if you allow me. We have worked for many, many years together. And the central message for the youth here today and outside is, there is no other global leader like yourself, sir. And why do I say that? Leadership is obviously about influencing others, hence power. But leadership is also about moral integrity. And it is very, very rare that these two dimensions come together in one person. And quite frankly, sir, you are the one who has inspired me the most in life. Because you have that combination of being, in very plain terms, an extremely good man fighting at your age, sir, every single day on this cause. It's extremely rare, and I want to thank you for that. That was the good part. Now the second part, this is also a good part for me, because yesterday, when you received the highest national honor of this nation, you indicated, sir, you're now also Kenyan. And that comes with a social contract. Because you're honorary chair, and you may think you're off the books now, and technically you are, but we really count on you, Mr. Secretary General, in the coming years to really keep leading this cause. So thank you so much, Secretary General. President Macky Sall, sir, Chatham House. I know there are students here, development studies. And I assume when you're a young African leader, you study not just Kenya, you study the continent. You study stories of failure, but you also study stories of success. Mr. President, you were 12 years the president of Senegal. For those who understand the transformation of Senegal, this is unprecedented. And Mr. President, we also worked very closely together. It is you, sir, who drove that transformation together with the people of Senegal. I thank you for that, Mr. President. And also, my second point for you, Mr. President, what is not known normally outside sort of the intrinsic dynamic of diplomacy, when you were chair of the African Union, it was you personally, who created the seat for Africa in the G20. It was you, Mr. President, because of your choice. I was in your office where you said the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program is the largest program in the world. Will be Africa's program. But it's very easy to say, but if a program is not funded, so you took the bold step. It has never, think about it, it has never happened in global diplomacy, where you as chair of the African Union, with your fellow leaders, you said, I'm not waiting. I'm coming myself to the global north, which you did during the Africa Adaptation Summit, which you chaired, Secretary General, to claim your stake of Africa. This is unprecedented, and this is the aspiration you provide for the continent. And I'm deeply grateful for your role as chair of the Global Center on Adaptation. Ali Mohammed, we are friends for many years. I suspect we are both getting old, including myself. And I know, like you, on Monday, I was locked into the hotel because of, let's call it like this, frustration, right? Frustration. But what is not known in this country, what you, Ali, together with His Excellency President Ruto, what you do and what the President does outside this nation, because it was President Ruto, 2 years ago, with you, Ali, came to the Netherlands, to our largest floating office in the world. Picture it. The President comes to the floating office, and I had the honor receiving him. It goes up 2 meters, goes down 2 meters twice a day. And the President said, I'm not a good swimmer. I can tell you that. We're a country of runners, but we need to see results. And you, Patrick, you're a white, middle-aged man You work on Africa, but Africa's solutions cannot be created outside Africa. Africa's solutions need to be created inside Africa. So my instruction to you, Patrick, make it work that the Global Center on Adaptation comes to Africa, but not, he said, as a subsidiary. No. Yesterday, for those who watched it, it was historic. It was the first time that an international organization has now a dual headquarter on an equal footing. South-north, north-south. And that's thanks to you, Ali, for doing the diplomacy behind it. Governor Gladys, your reputation speaks volumes. And for me, as a relative outsider, when I think about the dynamic nature of Kenya, I think about the need for transformative leadership by putting people at the heart of solutions. And I think Gladys, if I may call you Gladys, that's exactly what you do in Homa Bay, and I'm delighted to visit you anytime soon. So now, I have a speech, but last night I called my daughter. I have 5 children. Romee, 17 years old. So I said, I'm going to do an intergenerational dialogue. Intergenerational. I had to explain intergenerational dialogue. She said, Dad, you might be a professor. You might be even the chancellor of the University of Nairobi. And I want to welcome also my sister, Vice Chancellor. But don't lecture, but listen. And I have listened to you. Over the last few years, I have traveled the nation. I was in Makueni 2 years ago, and I met Sarah. Sarah was a mother of 5. In the period of drought, she said, I'm fetching water. I'm doing this for years. But now, because of the drought, what I need to walk, or what my kids need to walk, it doubled in distance. So what she did, she had to pull her kids out of school. And because of the AAAP, together with the African Development Bank and with AU NEPAD, we developed a sand bank to capture water so that Sarah's kids could go back to school. I traveled to Muranga a few months ago, after the floods. And I was standing with John and his family, and he showed me, he said, my tea crops washed away. Kids pulled out of school. He said, Patrick, Mr. Chancellor, sir, I still have to get used to that. Mr. Chancellor, sir, you talk about adaptation, you talk about development. For me, it's about survival. I traveled to Mukuru, and I think there are some people from Mukuru here. At least Jane is here. And Secretary General, you and I were there. You mentioned all your travels across the globe, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, from the Pacific to the Caribbean. But you've been to Mukuru. And you committed in Mukuru to find a solution around economic development. And I also want to acknowledge Jane, maybe you can stand for all of us. Because Jane, you came, and I'm sure you will speak about it later today, with concrete solutions for the people of Mukuru. Now, to your communiqué, 8 points, but quite frankly, it boils down to 1 point. Maximum, 3 points. Jobs, jobs, jobs. But not just jobs. Right? The young people, yourself, not just jobs. Well-paid jobs. Jobs in the 21st century. And that's precisely why, together with Vice Chancellor Hutchinson, I accepted this role as Chancellor, unpaid, to create this connection between education on the one hand and job creation on the other hand. And let me give you one example. We have a fantastic young student at the University of Nairobi, Brian. And Brian came to me and he said, listen, Mr. Chancellor, sir, I have a small AI app, prototype. What does it do? It helps teachers in the rural areas to grade quickly with this app. But this is just an app. This is a prototype. Bill Gates started in the garage. Brian started in the slums. What, he said, can you do, sir, to help me take off? That's precisely why the University of Nairobi launched last year the Big five bold initiatives, one of which, Vice Chancellor Hutchinson, indeed is the Innovation Park, which we launched, so that young entrepreneurs such as Brian will meet up with venture capitalists because you are ready for the takeoff. And Secretary General, indeed, Brian, and indeed, Secretary General, you and I met with Yvonne in Cameroon. She came to one of the climate summits. She's from Cameroon. And she had an extraordinary story for me. She said, I'm a waste picker. My mother, a waste picker. Her mother, a waste picker. I'm 18. I have 2 children. But I have a dream. I have a dream. If I would have one drone, and when the rains are coming in the city where she lives, she said, I would let my drone off, fly over the city, see where the waste blockages are, get my waste pickers to unblock so the water can flow, there's no flooding. She said, there's a business. This is a business. Through the support of GCA, Yvonne has now 10 drones, 200 people working for her, back at school. So it's about jobs, it's about resilient jobs. Another point, speaking very frankly, I am from the other side, from the global north. Yes, I'm Chancellor here, but intrinsically, I'm from the global north. And in the Netherlands, we hosted the NATO summit 2 weeks ago. I'm sure you saw that, right? All these tweets flying around. And at the NATO summit, the rich countries, the pact, agreed to 5% of GDP for security, for NATO. But students of diplomacy will read the fine print. It's 5%, but within that, 3.5% hardcore security, but 1.5% for security-related expenditures. And it is my strong view that 1.5% security-related expenditures, part of it should be invested in Africa. Because think about it. If you live in the Netherlands, and our cabinet just fell, you think you have political challenges here, come to the Netherlands. You think you have political challenges here, go to the United States. What's the number 1, 2, and 3 agenda item in the West? Migration. Africa is, from the global North perspective, the forgotten continent. Why are you so important? As SG said, to raise your voice, to increase the temperature, but at the same time, Governor, indeed, come with very concrete solutions. So your communique is extremely important. It's extremely important. And President Macky Sall committed to bring this communique from the Africa Climate Summit to the General Assembly to COP30. And if I can take the liberty, Mr. President, to add an asterisk to that commitment, it would be even better that you self-select one of you to come with us to New York, to Brazil, to speak on behalf of the African voices. I thank you very much for your commitment. And my daughter, Romee, 5 children, number 3. She's coming. All my kids, I forced. If you want to become a global citizen, if you think about problem solving, you can't do this from the Netherlands. You have to come to Africa. Why? This is Africa's century. I thank you very much. Asante sana.
Thank you very, very much to Professor Patrick Verkooyen, the President and the CEO of the Global Center on Adaptation, and as well the Chancellor of the University of Nairobi. It's time for Africa. It's time for transformation. And I am delighted also to welcome my colleague. I see a question. We will have immediately after the next session that we'll have some...
Please, yeah, comment. Yeah, come forward. No, take the mic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Joe Abala. I'm an agribusiness entrepreneur. I'm a former student at Strathmore University, Development Studies and Philosophy. I'm a social activist and I'm an agribusiness entrepreneur. I want to do a 3-minute short commentary about today and about what our lovely panelists have talked about today. And to His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, the 8th UN Secretary General, to His Excellency the 4th President of Senegal, President Macky Sall, to Her Excellency the Governor of Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga, to His Excellency the President and the CEO of Global Center on Adaptation, and the Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Professor Patrick Verkooyen, and to His Excellency the Special Envoy to the Global Center on Adaptation, Honorable Mohammed Ali. And ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'll be very brief, and I want to start with your remark, Professor Verkooyen, that you said, we Kenyans think that we have political problems, but we've not seen the Netherlands, we've not seen the United States. I found that statement very hurting to me as a very young Kenyan, because you even said on Monday you said you were stuck in your hotel room. Yes, that's true. This country was on a total shutdown. And it was intentional because we are not being heard. That's the bottom line. We are not being heard. You know, we talk about giving the youths a voice. Youths to be heard. I want to categorically say the youths, we have a voice and it is very firm. The only problem is you are not listening to us. That's the only problem. You are not listening to us. Your Excellency Ban Ki-moon, I want to tell you that the governor sitting here, the governor of Homa Bay, one of the people come from Homa Bay. He's dead right now. I'm sorry to say that. May his soul continue resting in peace. His name is Albert Ojwang. Albert Ojwang was killed in police custody. The only thing our lovely governor did was to issue a statement only. That's the only thing she did. As I finish, I want to say this. I'm finishing, Your Excellency, please. Professor Verkooyen, I'm finishing. Because, you know, we are saying that we want the youth to have a voice, but I'm about to be silenced, you know. So anyway, as I finish, I want to say that I want to comment on enabling environment for youth adaptation. For youth adaptation to be there, we need to have an enabling environment. We need to have structures, we need to have policies, we need to have mechanisms that will ensure this youth for adaptation that you're talking about is actually taking place. And it's not only on papers. With that short remarks, I have a lot to say, but with those short remarks and for the respect of the event, allow me to sit down. Thank you so much.
Very well spoken indeed. And just for the record, no one is being silenced here. We are listening because, but, there is a but. We at the Global Center on Adaptation, we are razor focused. Meaning, there is a conversation for any topic at the right time, at the right place. So I call upon you to focus today on what you can influence in this boardroom. And in this boardroom, we are committed to carry your vision for transformation on the continent, on jobs, on education, on voice, point 6, on women empowerment, on locally led adaptation. That is your central message. And I hope and I call upon you that today's event will be in the spirit of forward-leaning, inclusive, respectful, practical, and razor focused. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. And we continue with this conversation about adaptation, adaptation solutions, and also why the locally led adaptation plays a crucial role. I am delighted to welcome my colleague, Anju Sharma. She is leading the locally led adaptation program at the Global Center on Adaptation, and we will continue with an exercise of questions and responses. Then, join me, please, with a big applause for my colleague, Anju Sharma.
Thank you, Adriana, for that introduction. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm aware that you, Excellencies, you have a pressing appointment soon, so I'm not sure how much time you'll have. Should we continue?
We're here, we're supposed to leave now, but we're here for another 25 minutes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. No, on that, yeah.
We do this short,
Yeah.
and then we listen to the
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, actually, we've been talking a lot about youth action today, and what we wanted to do during this session is to actually get into the depth of it. What does it mean when we say youth are not waiting, that they are acting? What is it exactly? What's the transformative action that they are bringing to the party, more or less? So I want to tell you a story from the county of Homa Bay. And this was a story, as the governor said, it started about actually 2 years ago when we held a conference for all the mayors and governors of Africa in collaboration with United Cities and Local Governments of Africa. And we called on all the mayors and governors. We showed them the work that had been done in Mukuru, which really showed that when you put planning into the hands of the people, how transformative it can be, how focused it can be on the needs of citizens. So one of the people who answered very quickly was indeed the governor, and she was very interested in doing this process in Homa Bay. So we are following the model of the AAAP, the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program. We found an AFDB project that could fund the activities of the plan, and we went to Homa Bay to discuss what we should do. And I can tell you that the commitment that was shown by the governor and her team then and since was really nothing short of exemplary and inspirational. So we partnered with Akiba Mashnani Trust, which is the same organization that had done the work in Mukuru, to develop a people's adaptation plan. But what began as an adaptation plan became so much more, because the county recognized that you need to integrate adaptation into development planning, and the county did not then have a land use plan. So they issued a Gazette notification of intention to plan on the 24th of October 2024, and this enabled the plan that we did to become Kenya's first ever climate resilient inclusive municipal development plan. So the plan is rooted in the voices of those who are most at risk. You will hear from them today, and the poorest and most vulnerable residents of informal settlements. And I can confidently say that every household in these settlements were given the opportunity to participate actively in this plan. How was this done, you may ask? And the answer is simple: through an army of young people who were trained to do this. 382 young people from the communities were trained in mapping, numbering, data collection using GIS tools. 20 county officials, and I'm told most of them were also young officials, and 40 students from the Tom Mboya University were also trained in digital and geospatial tools, data analysis. Both the community members and the students were trained in how to then overlay climate risks on top of that, and 23 students were embedded in the county offices as interns. And these young people, they knocked on every single door in the informal settlements that we were working in and spoke to 21,317 households to gather data on socioeconomic conditions and climate vulnerabilities, and to inform the people they were speaking to of the impacts of climate change and to involve them in the planning process. This step was really crucial, not just to collect quantitative and qualitative data, but also to mobilize the community, to help them understand what climate change means, to engage them in the planning process. The importance of this kind of household enumeration, as we call it, in climate-resilient urban planning just cannot be understated. It serves not just as a foundation for evidence-based decision-making, the identification and inclusion of the most vulnerable households, and of targeted policy interventions, targeted funding to where it is the most needed, which are the households that are most in need. So they were identified through this process, and it helps to identify at-risk populations, houses where there are women-headed households or informal workers whose livelihoods are at risk. And so the benefits and the impact of the strong foundation, they're really huge and difficult to fully capture in the time that we have. But what is clear is that this community-led, government-supported initiative is a model for true climate justice. It was during, as it was mentioned earlier, it was during His Excellency Ban Ki-moon's time at the UN that the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted and born. And at the core of those goals was the principle of leave no one behind. The effort in Homa Bay brings that principle to life. It shows that when data is democratized and used by the people, for the people, adaptation that prioritizes the needs of the poorest and most vulnerable becomes real. Your Excellency Ali Mohammed, as the world continues to grapple with how to define and to measure a global goal on adaptation, Kenya is showing the way. The answer lies not in unwieldy national level or global level data, but in really reliable household level local data built from the ground up through a strong equal partnership between communities and their governments, and used by both to hold each other to account. So I'm going to wrap up there and invite, actually we have two speakers from the community.
I'm going to open it up.
Okay, all right.
Adaptation, principle number one, you adapt, you adjust to what the dynamic in the room is. What I clearly hear also from the previous speaker, you need to speak. We heard you because you spoke already through the paper, 8 points, right? That's one. Now we need to open it up, right? Razor focused, 8 points, adaptation and jobs. So what I want to now suggest to adjust the program. And who want to speak? Please, come forward. Please. But it's very important, this young lady. It has to be a question, right? Statements we know because we've seen your 8 points. That's your statement. So please, a question. And we pick up a couple of questions and then we answer.
Thank you very much. My name is Dolphin Magero. I also come from Nairobi County, but I work for Ministry of Education. Because you're talking about, I work for Council for Nomadic Education in Kenya, and Nora Magero is my sister, indeed. And I want to ask a question, because you're talking about intergenerational dialogue. How are you planning to engage children, for example, below the age of 18? Because we've had discussions about, when you talk about intergeneration, it's all about youth, that is 18 to 35. What about the children from the ages of, 4 to 18? And how can you support that? Because there are schools that are, of course, extremely vulnerable, especially in the ASAL counties. Thank you.
We take a couple of questions. We have 8 people lined up. We close the list here also, mindful of time. We take them all. Please, short, name, question.
My name is Augustine Onsare, a diploma graduate in petroleum geoscience and an ardent supporter of climate resilience and adaptation. My question is, I've seen what you've done with your foundation on giving students opportunities to do their MBAs, postgraduate, and PhDs. my question is, do you have maybe opportunity for students who are doing from diploma to undergraduate? If there is, how can a person like me, get an opportunity to do my first undergraduate?
Good point. We take it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, morning.
Morning.
My name is Elton Butiti, a former student leader from the Premier University of Nairobi. So here is my question as a climate leader from the Climate Reality Project. Maybe most of the Kenyans and the youth, they think that this climate change issue, it's only an issue to maybe the UN. So this is my suggestion and also a question. We want climate and maybe the environment conservation to be a compulsory unit to the maybe to all the higher learning institutions, so that these people from the word go, they can they can get to know that climate is an issue. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic point. Your name?
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Ndambuki Orans, a development student at Mount Kenya University. My question will narrow it to the special envoy for climate change, Excellent Mohamed Hali. For the global center adaptation, which strategies the government of Kenya has taken to employ or to adopt the climate center adaptation to bring the change, especially to the local communities, in the climate change issue in Kenya? Which are policies that the Kenya government put?
Please, a question.
The policies the government of Kenya put to combat the climate change problems in Kenya. The last question is, do we have from the National Council of Climate Change, what maybe after the Africa Climate Summit, which are how far we have gone to the climate change adaptation? Thank you.
Good point. Please.
The Excellencies and all the protocol observed. Good afternoon. You know, it's very sweet to talk after professors. And I'm very excited and proud to present the University of Nairobi in presence of our able Chancellor, Professor Patrick, and our mom, our beloved mom, Hutchison. And now, because she's here, I would like, because mine is about, I've learned about many things here, and maybe I have something that I'll be taking home today. And so I would wish to request for some very little bit time. I share something with you. And yeah.
Go. What do you want to share?
Yeah, okay. My name is Joseph Ndisha, a proud youth, Masai, a student leader from the University of Nairobi. And I stand not just as a proud student of literature who believes in power of stories to shape our futures, but a son of the savannah too. I stand before you with deep humility, clothed in the rich heritage of the Maasai community, a voice of people rooted in resilience, culture, and harmony with nature, as a voice of hopeful generation, ready to learn and grow and build. This high-level integrated dialogue is more than a meeting. It's a bridge between wisdom and innovation, between tradition and technology, between yesterday's experience and tomorrow's ambition. We are gathered here not to compete, but to connect and collaborate. Not to question authority, but to honor it, while also inviting it to walk with us into the new age. There exists sometimes a silence gap between generations, a gap of mistrust, misunderstanding, and missed opportunities. But I believe dialogue like today's is the torch that lights that gap. When leaders speak, let the youth listen. And when the youth speak, the leaders lean in for our stories, for in our stories lies our shared future. As Charles said earlier, climate change is not a threat coming tomorrow. It's already here with us today. As a pastoralist community member from the Maasai land, I've seen how rains delay, how the rivers dry, how the cattle grow thin. But I've also seen how we Africans are learning to adapt. And how we can learn and adapt is by one, education and awareness. We must educate our communities, especially in rural forums. Let climate literally become part of everyday's knowledge so that people understand why the rains are fewer and why crops are failing and why and what they can do. Another one is about climate and smart agriculture. In Narok and Kajiado, our farmers are learning to plant drought-resistant crops like sorghum and millet. We are embracing traditional wisdom like rainwater harvesting and blending in with modern techniques like drip irrigation. Let us promote agroforestry, planting trees among our crops to conserve moisture and improve soil health. Number 3 is youth innovation. African youths are building solar-powered irrigation skits. Others are turning plastic waste into eco bricks and affordable housing materials. What they need is mentorship, access to green funding, and policy inclusion. Let's unlock their adaptations jobs. Number 4 is about...
How many points? How many points? Good points, but how many points? Because you have 8 speakers behind you.
Okay, you can just have your seats.
No. This is
for just a bit time.
No. That goes both ways. Yeah.
Okay.
Final point. Final thought. Oh yeah, exactly. This is the student of the University of Nairobi. They articulated their visions.
Yeah.
Your
okay.
final point, son.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just summarize what I have.
Yeah.
There is green governance and youth participation. Adaptation must be driven from the ground up. Include youth in climate budgeting, county planning, and community dialogues. Why? When youth lead, sustainability thrives. Even in the beadwork I wear today, present a balance with nature. The red for earth, blue for the sky, green for pasture, white for peace. If we lose the balance, we lose our way.
Thank you so much. More power to the youth, indeed. So we found our... Thank you so much. We're going to go to the next one. Thank you. You can take your seat. Come. Wait for the next person. Again, we have... If you want to have an answer, right? If there are questions and comments. If you want to have a response, there is a reality out here. In 10 minutes, the SG is heading out to the airport. So, please question, and I want to be respectful to your colleagues. Short question, and we wrap it up. Please.
Yes, Excellencies and all protocols are observed. My name is James Aningo from the University of Nairobi. I can see Mom is also here. And my question goes directly to Professor Patrick. How can GCA help address systemic challenges the youth face? Now, as we said, it's intergenerational dialogue. When we are trying to find these opportunities to travel abroad, we find more of challenges like visa denials and lack of access to funding to attend these sessions. How is GCA going to handle this? And secondly...
No, just one, please.
All right, thank you.
One point, good point, I'll come back to it, please.
Okay, to all the protocol observes, good afternoon. Okay, my name is Fabian Adienge. I'm from the great county of Homa Bay, the county of greatest potential. Yeah, that's my mom. You people call her High Excellency, but I call her my mom, my mother. She's our mother. And she's ever right. Yeah. Yeah. So my question is, I just have one question. I have to be brief because as we are people of actions, not words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amen.
My question is, Okay. How will you ensure that youth-led adaptation solutions receive direct access to climate finance, not just through intermediaries, but through trust-based funding models? Thank you.
Thank you for that point. And we capture them all. Yes.
Excellencies and all the guests present, good afternoon. My name is David Mwangi, second year student, Chiromo campus, and the chairman of Organization of Nairobi University Science Student. The Chiromo campus is situated, sandwiched between tributaries of River Nairobi, which is currently a dump site and some trenches of some sewerage. Now I'm asking, coming from the Faculty of Science and Technology, how is my chancellor going to engage us as a student, having a lot of innovations in the part of dealing with climate change? Also, I have a proposal. With my organization. We've planned on cleaning River Nairobi. Now I'm requesting that you can give me a direct engagement. I take you through the proposal so that you can help us run it and make it a success, because we want to actualize, not just words.
Fantastic. Already on that second point, we're going to address it. Let's meet tomorrow. We're going to fix that meeting tomorrow, and I'll come back on your first point.
Excellencies present in the room and members present in the room, good afternoon. My name is Joan Jemutai, and I'm here representing over 7,000 students in the Medical Students Association of Kenya. And my question is, we the medical students here in Kenya are actually not speaking words, but are actually doing actions. And with this, we have an initiative that will take place in September at Mombasa that will be a conference bringing together students from over 25 African countries. And how can we collaborate and partner with you in such matters, because it is climate action oriented and as well as public health oriented. So my question specifically is to our eighth United Nations Secretary General. How can we collaborate with you and partner in this initiative? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great question. Like life, the clock is ticking. So that we all know where we are. Question, and then we're going to wrap it up. Literally 7 minutes, please.
Okay, it's John Nyongesa, born leader. Actually, what David said, I'm the organizing secretary of the organization. So actually, if it's talking, we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Absolutely. Count on it.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Fuete, an environmental sociologist by profession. A Gen Z is a lecturer. Okay. Yes. So my question is, I've heard so much about the youth and the marginalized. I'm a founder of Farmers CBO. My question is, how can we advocate for climate finance for persons with disability, especially the students in the schools? Then I have a proposal to Sankara. We met last year with the city manager of Kisumu. I request you come back, we continue with the Forest Club, then to Global Center of Adaptation. Yeah. Last year, I advocated for the construction.
Question.
Yeah, yes,
you come to a question.
It's a question, yes. Okay. Advocated, and we through the Zero Waste campaign, we were built for a material recovery facility in Kisumu. It's a proposal if you can assist us in running the material recovery facility through the adaptation mechanisms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last one.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Tobias Bele. I lead communication and knowledge management at the Kenya Climate Innovation Center. In 5 days, we launched the Youth Adapt Challenge, targeting Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Nigeria, and Ghana. Please apply, 30,000 USD up for grabs, and a chance to be at Belem at COP30. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we're going to stay with us, because many of the questions were about, very understandable, right? Money. I mean, I have an idea, I want to move, where's the money? That's exactly where this fine gentleman is going to lead on. We have a Youth Adapt Challenge. We have, with the gracious support and leadership from President Macky Sall and Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, we have allocated a budget within this Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program. We leave in less than 5 minutes, but I think it would be very important that you keep here, explain to all these fine people here how this works. What are the modalities? How do they apply? When is the money flowing? So please, that's one. we open it up a little bit, mindful of time. 2, several of you raised the point of education. I come about the kids' education, but the higher education. So when I was appointed as chancellor, right, last year, I'm sure many eyebrows were raised. Why is this guy not from Kenya suddenly becoming a chancellor of the University of Nairobi? Fair point. But when I launched, together with President Ruto, the Big Five, 5 transformative initiatives to transform not just the University of Nairobi, not just higher education in Kenya, but across the board. Within those 5 points, it's extremely important, one of the points was raised by one of our colleagues, is climate science education. In my world, it's inconceivable to graduate from any university, any country, whether you're a lawyer or a medical doctor or pick a field, if you haven't done Climate 101. So it's now within this Big Five sort of agenda that we make this 101 on climate science mandatory. It's an open access course, and it is my vision and desire, Vice Chancellor, that this is open for all of students in Kenya. 1. 2, it's very important to understand what is already out there, right? So Adriana developed, 3 years ago, a so-called MOOC, Massive Open Online Course, right? Where you have the basics on climate adaptation. How much does it cost? 0. Yeah, your time. So I invite you also when we leave that Adriana walk us through what is it, the MOOC? Why is it important? How does it work? 3, for those more advanced students, right? You go from bachelor, you go to master, and some of us have aspirations to do a PhD. Very smart. I was thinking, I was appointed, if you do a PhD, you might as well just go to the top. Right? University of Nairobi, great institution, nothing wrong with it. A little bit of governance challenges, which we appreciate. Not really, but... So I created the first ever dual PhD program. On what? Climate adaptation. Between Kenya and the Netherlands. As we speak now, there are 2 students fully funded in the Netherlands from Kenya doing a dual PhD. This program is open, it's running for business, we're looking for applicants. So there's also opportunities out there, which I think we all need to be aware of, because I really also sympathize. If you're a student, and my last point is basically to the first point, to go full circle, if you allow me. Also to wrap it up. Have we addressed all the questions? No. Is the team still here? Yes. They can pick it up from there. But let me wrap it up. Please stand next to me. Let me wrap it up. The point you made is very well heard. When I launched the Big Five, and I'm going to say something very personal now. I traveled the continent. I come to Kenya. And I'm going after you, I'm going to give you the floor, Tristan. I travel Kenya. What do I know about Makueni? What do I know about Mukuru? I go, I visit, I get the red carpet treatment, we have nice speeches, and we go. But I'm not completely naive. And this is now also, what's your name again? Joe. This is a point for you, Joe. What I really appreciate from you, that you take the floor and come with your statement head on. But I think it's, again, my point to you, Joe, is it's important to realize what is out there. So, on the Big Five, one point, of course, is about leadership. Credible leadership. It's a blah blah story, but I'm from the Harvard Kennedy School, right? The leadership school worldwide. And if you go to Harvard, all these students think, oh, we're from Harvard, we're the best, this and the other. I now know, Vice Chancellor, that the University of Nairobi students, like other students in this country, are on par what's happening at Harvard. I know that. So what we have decided is to set up a leadership institute as a new partnership between the University of Nairobi and Harvard. So my offer to you, Joe, my offer to all of us here in this room is to shape this leadership institute, because transformation requires co-design, engagement from the bottom up. Final point, if you allow me, Joe. My final point is, I am absolutely, I'm not a pessimist. I am definitely not an optimist. But I'm very determined. And what I call upon all of us here, and you, Joe, is to use this determination and put it into something very concrete. Be it a leadership institute, be it a climate science 101 course, be it about projects being developed, being discussed tomorrow in meetings, but at the same time, we need to be aspirational, at the same time, practical. So, on behalf of President Macky Sall, on behalf of Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, on behalf of Governor Gladys, on behalf of His Excellency Ali Mohammed, I want to close the meeting, this part of the meeting, but I want to put you forward, Tristan. Tristan is not my son. He could have been my son, very similar. It's the first time you're in Africa. And I also want you now, and I told you yesterday, don't come with a polished speech. Don't come with something which sounds great. But you now have your first flavor after a short while here in Kenya. It would be good to just hear your very short 30-second reflection, and then we close it out.
Best? Yeah. Okay, so it feels a bit weird to finish off as a Dutch person in a Kenyan youth meeting, but I think this is a chance for me to tell you how much I admire you all and appreciate you all. In Kenya, I've seen that the Kenyan people have 3 very distinct qualities, which are your drive, your determination, and finally, your unity. And that gives me faith, and that gives me faith in that we, as a young generation in this world, can stand together, united, north and south, to battle climate change. And also, I'm convinced that you, the African youth, will be the leaders of Africa in the future. We'll make sure that Africa is not only a partner in the battle against global climate change, but a leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. But just also to be very clear, Joe and colleagues, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up. No, I'm going to wrap it up. Sorry. With all respect, I'm going to wrap it up now. Africa, it's very simple to say, Joe, this is Africa century, right? It sounds fantastic. But if you live in Mukuru, it may feel a little bit different, right? And if your voice is not being heard, you may feel, well, leadership, inclusive leadership, that sounds great, but it has to be actualized. This meeting today brings an end, Secretary General, to your visit to Kenya. And it was you, sir. You insisted on this meeting. Did it fit in your schedule? It did not. But you insisted that we would have this conversation. Joe, friends, others, obviously, this cannot be a one-off. This cannot be a one-off. We all, including myself, we're being tested and validated on what we deliver. So we will have a youth academy, Joe. Adriana will explain all of that, how that works, where we invite you to join, to continue the conversation. I will be part of it. And for those who wanted to meet with me, we have concrete ideas of proposals. Please go to Adriana to set it up for tomorrow. Not next week, not next month, tomorrow. With that, I humbly request Secretary General, President Macky Sall, Ali Mohammed, Governor Gladys, to join me in departing. And I want to thank you so much. This was very profound. It is not the end, it is a journey, and I count on all of us. Thank you very much indeed.
Please. It is a time to celebrate. Thank you to the leaders that have been with us, and we are in the time for Africa. Thank you, His Excellency Professor Patrick Verkoyen and His Excellency